Food and Beverage Magazine Live, bringing food and beverage to life. With your hosts, James Beard Award winner Jennifer English and Food and Beverage Magazine publisher Michael Politz. Featuring leaders in the hospitality, branded food and beverage, and CPG industries, many of whom are Jennifer and Michael's friends in the business. For an informal and informative conversation where friends in the business share the latest intel, ideas, and best practices. Live, juicy inside scoop from the tastemakers, newsmakers, bread bakers, drink shakers, spoon lickers, clam diggers, farms, foodies, and friends of the food and beverage magazine world. Here are your hosts, Jennifer English and Michael Politz.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Do you know what I have?
You know what I learned? Money can buy love in the restaurant. Yeah.
How?
Well, you have to buy the book. But money can buy you love.
That's
funny. What do you have?
I have a question. It's 116 degrees here yesterday, and I thought I'd start color coordinating my Italian ice pops with the shirts I wear. Which one should I go matchy or should I go complimentary?
I go matchy. Now, is that an Otter Pop?
No, this is an Italian ice.
Okay, tell me about it. What does that mean? What does that mean, Italian ice? Tell us about it.
Do you see these?
It literally says Italian ice.
It says Italian. It looks like an Otter Pop, but it says Italian ice.
Interesting.
And it will, along with my Celsius mock Bellini, keep me cool.
I got my box. When are we going to meet with those guys? When are they coming on?
They're coming on Wednesday.
Okay, great. I'll wait. I'll unveil.
Have you tried it yet?
No.
I think you're going to like the green tea.
I want to do it in their face.
So you want to have like a live unboxing? We have to comment on the live unboxing we did on Friday because we've had more comments and views and viewers and hits on that than in any other show that we've had.
I don't know why. It was weird. Was it as overall?
It was an unusual thing.
It was unusual.
Mercury's retrograde, and it just proves that
Mercury's out of retrograde from what I understand. It's time to sign contracts.
Is it? Well, let's get somebody on. Like, can somebody comment if anybody's with us who knows about this sort of thing?
That would be right. What do we have on today? Who do we got? Tell us about it.
Well, so it's summertime, and when it's summertime, you have to celebrate the season, and you have to celebrate the bountiful goodness. And you should eat what's in season, as Farmer Lee Jones from Chef's Garden said, like 3 times a day. So I don't know about you, but I've been eating a ton of peaches, a ton of beautiful tomatoes. And this idea of eating seasonally and lightly and beautifully is something that we're going to talk about periodically over the next several weeks, as everyone anywhere has access to the best of the season. So we have a really good friend who hooks us up with the best cookbooks that come out throughout the year.
We do? Who's that friend? Who is that?
It's Carrie Bachman, our good friend Carrie Bachman.
I don't know Carrie Bachman.
You need to know Carrie Bachman.
Why doesn't Carrie Bachman have my book? Is she on your list?
She's on my list. There's a whole story. Carrie Bachman is your friend too. You just don't know it yet.
They're all my friends.
There are friends in the business, but honestly, I've been collaborating with Carrie because she's literally represented.
Right.
I would say
enough about Carrie. I don't know. Enough about Carrie. But let's talk about Let's talk about Danielle.
But I'm responding to your questions.
I forgot what question I even asked. You've been talking so much. What was even my question? I don't know. You talk so much. I don't even know what my question was.
Your question was what flavor?
Whoa! Hey, what are you, loyal now?
Oh, so good. I needed that. You got me riled up. I had to cool down. Okay. So there's a fantastic website that I'll direct you to called Pease, Love, and Carrots.
What? It's a website?
It's a website.
This is the first I've heard of it.
And the author of the book that we're going to feature today is the remarkable woman, who is the author of a book called Pease, Love, and Carrots.
Let me ask you a question. How do you know it's a woman and not a French man?
Because she has an amazing story. She has a fabulous husband and 5 children.
What?
She grew up in New York. And for the last 10 years, she's been not only living in Jerusalem, Israel, but she has delved and done a deep dive into delicious food. The tagline on her site is, "We'll travel for food."
Let's get her on, because she's got, you said she has 5 kids.
Right.
So
she's probably knows all about these.
Jennifer, don't get wordy with her. She'll fall asleep. She's got 5 kids. She's exhausted, okay? Let's bring her on. There she is. Live from Jerusalem, Israel, Danielle
Renov. The author of one of our favorite books of the year, Pease, Love, and Carrots. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I am
thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit for Michael, who hasn't had the benefit of just floating in glorious visits with your site and your words the way I have over the last week getting ready for this conversation. Tell him a little bit about your lovely mission at Pease, Love, and Carrots.
Tell us all. Why just me? You don't want the audience to know? I don't understand. Is it a secret, some kind of a wax secret that I don't know about?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's not such a secret. Basically, I grew up in Long Island, New York. My mother is an immigrant. She was born in Morocco. She was raised in Paris, came to America via Montreal, met my father, who was born and raised in New York. Actually also grew up in Long Island, and together they built a really multicultural home where my parents did a really good job of melding their 2 cultures, but also their 2 food worlds. They're both like huge foodies, and my mother comes from a very, very traditional Moroccan home where women really play, a huge role in the kitchen, and cooking a very, very central, important part of a woman's life in a Moroccan home. And my grandmother and my mother and my aunts really passed down their love of food. And my mother, being a really good wife, really learned the foods that my father liked to eat also, like really typical American food, typical Ashkenazi Jewish food. And she was really able to meld the 2 food cultures together and really gave us the best of both worlds. And then I decided to pick up and leave their world and come to Israel, which is just like this whole other melting pot of a million food cultures. And now, I'm sort of food confused, but like in the best way possible, because I get the best of everything. So it's just been an amazing journey. And 4 years ago, I started the blog because I wanted to bring everyone on my journey.
Your journey is a unique one, and the creation of a book, and Michael, you know this very well, having just published a book. I want you book guys, to both of you, tell me about the way that you bring this passion you have to tell this story and to do this work to life. You've each, within the last month, published a fantastic book that took a long time and a lot of work. I want to use this opportunity to talk about books and what it takes to produce them, and what it was inside each of you that made this book have to come to life, because it really is something that's a gift from each of you to the world. Danielle, let's start with you. What was it that made you say, it's not enough to have my blog, it's not enough to do this work, I have to do a book?
So it's so funny because I'm hesitant to create a book because I'm very impulsive, and one of the main things I love about a blog is like that instant gratification for me and for my that I create a recipe, know it's delicious, and give it to you, and the next day see that food on your plate and know that what we made together now is bringing the people in your house around. And I love that instant gratification. But the truth is that there's nothing more basic than a book. Clicking off of your phone, clicking off of your iPad, trying to search for on Instagram is just not as convenient. pulling the book off of your shelf and opening it up to that page that it sort of opens up to on its own because you've made that recipe so many times, you know? And I think people really wanted that, and my community really expressed to me that they really wanted that convenience. And so finally I sat down and I did it, and I'm really the type of person, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all the way. And I gave it every single thing I had. I took a year off of my life, away from everybody, and I just put everything I had into this.
Michael, I want to ask you that same question, not to turn my co-host into an interview guest, but you've both had a book come out in the last month. It took a tremendous amount of work. What made you take that first step in this journey that was a really long journey of hard work, knowing it was going to be hard, but you did it anyway? What made you ultimately do this book?
The paycheck.
No.
Yeah, what do you mean no? I'm going to write something. What, you think I could take that much time and not get paid? Jennifer, I only give my time to you, my love.
I want to know what I did. Definitely wasn't for the paycheck.
They came to me and they said, hey, Michael, you have the largest audience of any food and beverage trade industry readership in the world. Right, Jennifer? That's what they said, in the world. Right now we got 422 people on my website. In the world. And they said, you must know all this great stuff. Please, Michael, please. They begged me. We're the biggest publishing company in the world, and we must have you write a book. And I said, no, I'm too busy. I've got to do things for Jennifer. And they said, please, 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 share all of your successes, please. And so that's what happened. So then I said, okay, and I had process started with my people. Because you know, Danielle, I have people. So my people handled it for me. All Ashkenazi, all my people Ashkenazi, right? We broke bread. We had the challah. We had the what else did we have, Jennifer? We had the gefilte. We had the lox.
We had the every Thursday kugel.
We all have the kugel. Every Thursday kugel. Only, by the way, with the golden raisins. Only with the golden raisins.
Oh, I'm anti the raisins. I think the raisins ruined childhood for many Ashkenazi children. You bite into that. You're getting a kugel, and then you get a mushy raisin.
Oh, the mushy raisin. What about the brisket? What about the stuffed cabbage? Come on, Danielle. Are these recipes in your book?
We do have
Can I ask a question?
No, she's still answering mine. Slow down. Go ahead, Danielle.
The book is really like an amalgamation of my food culture. So it's not as Ashkenazi as that. I mean, there is a brisket. There's like, I think 2 or 3 briskets.
Wow.
But there's not really stuffed cabbage. There's a lot of Moroccan and Mediterranean influence.
I love that. That's delicious.
So up in a Moroccan kitchen, you know, my mother did the cooking. My father makes a very, very amazing tuna melt, but like that's literally the only thing he makes. So a lot of the book has mostly Moroccan and Mediterranean, like things from Israel, Middle Eastern flavors, things like that. Just like really good basic recipes. There's actually
very French-based, Danielle. French-based a little bit of that French undertone.
There is a French undertone. My mother was actually born in Casablanca. Her family is from Fez, which is French Morocco, southern Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
And grew up in Paris. So you'll see when you skim the book, you'll see a lot of, you know, there's a lot of butter where it should be.
Where I grew up, my very close friends growing up were all Moroccan. I'm from Washington, D.C. area. And I'm sure your mother knows a lot of the Amsterdams and the friends of mine.
Come on.
What's that?
We're related to all of them. You know that.
Yes, I know all of your cousins, and I've eaten all their food, and I've been in all their restaurants. And I was very close growing. They put me through, while I was in college, I would go to all their restaurants all day long. And you know, so Jennifer, this is a treat, this food, right? It's a treat to have. And they don't have these, it's almost people, they would open up the restaurants and they would be bistros, right? And they were not really French bistros, they were Moroccan, but nobody knew the difference, right? So you would go in and you would have your artichokes and your this. It was all with this flair, right? With this French Moroccan flair. And it was all owned by, you know, your cousins and everybody. And I just talked to one the other day, and they used to also own and I'm sure all over the country, the distributorships, right? So one of my friends owns a beef company. The other one owned a company called Silver Spoon, and they would do all the front of house stuff, right? For all their families who owned the restaurants. It was a great little community of people, and it was happy. Everybody was always happy. Jackie Shrieky, always happy. Jackie Shrieky, always happy. Jacques Beton, a little grumpy Jacques Beton, but that's okay.
That's very funny. Very accurate description.
And the Amsalem's always nice. They were very loaded, had a lot of money from the businesses, and didn't care about anything. Made sure everybody was hospitable. This is where you learn hospitality, right? They came in.
Yeah. Nobody knows how to take care of a guest like a Moroccan, really. You go into a Moroccan's house at any time of day, any day of the week, any time of the year, and they have a 7-course meal to feed you, like out of nowhere. And by the way, their kitchen is spotless. It's magical. But there are a lot of those notes. There are, in fact, many artichoke recipes in the book because I am a big fan of artichokes. And, I just worked really hard to create a book. There's over 350 recipes. I felt like if you were going to grace me the space on your shelf these days for my book, then I wanted to make sure that there was more than 10 recipes in there that you could use. So, there's some very involved recipes like homemade from scratch with the traditional 7 vegetables. And then there's like the quick, easy night dinner of, an oven baked chicken tender that you can give to your kid, but with 3 different sauces so that it doesn't get old, so that you can change it up. I really wanted to give you the full gamut of recipes. And we worked really hard to achieve that.
Can we ask, I have to interject here because I was going through your site, and one of the recipes that kind of knocked me out, and I wanted to clarify whether this would even be in the brisket category, because it was something that I didn't necessarily feel like I had seen before. But you have this roast. It looks like, do you call it a brick?
A brick roast. It's a magical piece of meat. Yeah.
So is a brick roast a version of a brisket?
No, a brick roast actually comes from the cut. It's a leaner piece of meat. It's about, I would say, like 3 to 4 inches thick. It's sometimes called a French roast or a square roast, depending,
Okay.
how you're.
Jennifer, Danielle, let me help you. Jennifer, a brisket, okay, is a slab of meat. We know what a brisket is, but it's the way we prepare it, where we use our special love and our tomatoes and the special love and the brown sugar. And you know what my secret is for my brisket, Danielle?
What?
Shall I share that with you?
Please do. It might end up, but.
Ginger snaps.
Ginger snaps in your brisket?
Not in the brisket, in the sauce. On the brisket.
And it dissolves? They dissolve?
They dissolve. And that's sometimes my mother's secret, by the way, is spicy V8 juice. I think that's a lazy way to go, but that's what she uses.
Spicy V8 juice is genius. It's vegetable. It's pureed vegetables. She doesn't have to chop and peel anything.
She's a Jewish woman from Maryland. What do you expect? That's what they do for the East Coast. They don't want to chop and peel.
She's a genius. That's brilliant.
I want you to try the ginger snaps, and I have a feeling I put it in my stuffed cabbage too, and I think you're going to enjoy it.
You put ginger snaps in your stuffed cabbage?
Not in it, in the sauce. It's the same sauce, the brisket sauce and the stuffed cabbage sauce.
We have many brisket sauces, but stuffed cabbage is like that sweet and sour vibe thing going on.
That's what I'm talking about, the sweet and sour vibe. I do the brisket sweet and sour.
My father about his stuffed cabbage. He's very particular.
Your father would eat my stuffed cabbage to the end of the universe. He would love it so much.
You should send him some. He would appreciate that.
Jennifer, you're so out. Jennifer's Jewish, by the way, and I know she doesn't look it. She's very New England. Jennifer, let's hear about your Jewish treats, your kugels.
I come from such an amalgamated family culture, but when you come from Boston, it kind of has this pervasiveness, and there's all of those very traditional New England flavors. The same way we have cod and crab and clam, the way you guys have crab in Maryland.
Well,
So
we don't have kosher clam chowder, Jennifer.
I understand that.
Tell us how you would make that, Jennifer. How would you whip up a kosher clam chowder?
I don't ascribe to. You can't make. I'm a bit of a purist. You can't make a great chowder without starting with a little, bit of bacon. I mean, you could use another kind, but that's another story. This is not. I know.
So wait a minute. Let's go back to Danielle.
I make sensational chowder, and I ascribe to the Jasper White school and the sort of more Boston, Rhode Island-y, brothy versions of chowder versus that, over-thickened restaurant claim to be New England clam chowder.
Jennifer, I know this is a kosher show right now, but I've got to tell you something. I had chowder fries. Have you had this before?
No. Is it like poutine with chowder?
Yes, it's French fries, and they pour a little chowder on it, like a thick, like a poutine. Oh my God, that's all. Okay. Anyway, let's go back to Danielle. That's all.
Because she's sitting waiting for us.
Wait, say that again. We're having a lag with Danielle.
Yeah, we can't hear you very well. I'm sorry.
Do you know what Fire Island is? Like an island all the way out east on Long Island. So
the Pines, yes.
We actually never grew up eating not kosher, but we did grow up going to Fire Island every single summer.
Oh, lucky.
And at the ferry, they would sell clam chowder. And they would have two kinds, New England and Manhattan, right? And Manhattan is like that white, thick one. And it smelled so good. And you would sit on the ferry and people would be eating this chowder. And literally we would sit there salivating. It smelled so good. It looked so good. I have to say the white one did smell really, really good. But I'm from New York, so maybe
So so we're gonna go. So people are your books like right now we're having trouble with Barnes and Noble and people can't get in. So everything's online. They can buy it. Now where can they go to buy your book online?
Amazon. It's on Amazon. Just type in Peas, Love, and Carrots, the cookbook, and it will pop right up.
Can they buy it on your website? Let me look.
They cannot buy it on the website yet because my website's actually under construction. The new website is launched actually in the next 2 days. Thank God. And then they'll be able to purchase it.
What do you think about that, Jen?
Well, Michael, before we let her go, I love the name of your book. And there's two things we wanted to do. One was we wanted to connect you with our good friend, Farmer Lee Jones of the Chef's Garden, because he used to grow vegetables for all of the Michelin stars and celebrity chef restaurants all over North America, but they're all closed. And so all of this beautiful, bountiful produce that he grows in Huron, Ohio at his family's farm is now being made in these boxes that are home delivery boxes. And I love how you love vegetables. I love how Peas and Carrots factor so prominently in the name of your book and your blog. But I have to ask you, tell us about where the name comes from and what it means.
The name just popped into my head. I was, trying to create an Instagram account to start the blog. And the name I had originally thought of, I don't even remember, was taken. And then it was the middle of the night. My husband was away for work traveling, and Peas, Love, and Carrots literally popped into my head. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so me. This is so me. And I just went with it, and I've never looked back. And people ask me all the time as my following grows and things grow, would you change your name? Don't you want to just be Danielle Renov? And I'm like, no. I love the name. I love what it stands for. I love our community. I love everything about it. The cover of the book was such a debate. Everybody told me you can't put fish, you have to put chicken or meat, you can't put a salad. And we ended up going with this like amazing vegetarian soup, which is just like the craziest bowl of soup because it's literally me in a bowl. It's a matzo ball, which is like wildly Ashkenaz, but it's this Moroccan matzo ball soup with chickpeas and saffron, and it's glazed with arak and radishes and all different kinds of Middle Eastern microgreens and sumac and just all of these insane flavors from all over the world, from literally everywhere that I've lived and all the cultures that I've soaked up. And it was so perfect for the cover, even though it's vegetarian, even though there's over 80, protein-based recipes in the book. It just was so perfect that I feel like the name is just speaks so much to our community and what we do here. And I love meat and I love chicken and I love fish, but I really think that no meal is complete without really, really delicious, properly cooked or not cooked, just assorted, delicious seasonal vegetables. And that's really something I learned from living in Israel. You know, I grew up in New York where even though it's not delicious at all times of year, everything's available at all times of year. And then I moved to Israel 13 years ago and I went to go buy watermelon and they're like, it's February. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, it's February. I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, there's no watermelon in February. There's watermelon in June and July. And I was like, oh, wait, what? And then I tasted the watermelon in June and July. And I'm like, this doesn't even taste like the watermelon we get. This is amazing. Right. And I really grew a huge appreciation for cooking seasonally and what that does for our palates and how that affects our cooking and the quality of cooking, how it helps the environment. And I feel like all of that is represented in this bowl, on this cover, and in Loving Carrots. And I'm really proud of it.
She's very full of energy, Jennifer. Do you think that's the vegetables?
I think it's the love, the peas, and the carrots.
Any other questions for Danielle? You want to know about her life? What do you want to know?
Danielle, our next guest today, today's show is all about exotic locations. Since most of us are not going to get to travel very far this summer because of COVID, we wanted to bring the world and a little taste of the world, because the best reason to travel is to eat, which I know you think is also true.
That's the best reason to wake up.
It is. I am not in.
I didn't hear what she said.
I'm traveling right now. I'm not in Jerusalem right now. I'm actually in Eilat, which is like the southern tip of Israel. Far away.
She's in a lot. She said she's in a lot in Israel on the southern tip. Now, I hope there's water and electric on the lot that she's in. That was an Israeli city joke.
Okay. Have you, Danielle, have you ever been to Malta?
That's really crazy. We were supposed to go to Malta on April 19th. Me and my husband were supposed to, we had tickets to leave. That's so crazy.
So will you say, and when you go to Malta, you know, one of the most famous things that they produce in Malta that everybody travels from around the world to get is a very, very specific kind of delicacy, a treat called a pastizzi. Have you had that before?
I haven't had the Maltese pastizzi, but there is a very similar Moroccan version of that, and I have had that.
So can I have you stick around for 1 minute, because I'm going to have you meet our next guest.
I would love to.
His name is Joe. And
Joe's not backstage, by the way.
What do you mean Joe's not backstage? Then we need a commercial.
Oh, you want to do a commercial?
Yeah, let's do a commercial and we'll get Joe.
Commercial.
Whether you are thinking about becoming a restaurateur or you are already in the business, Michael Politz has written a must-read, The Food and Beverage Magazine's Guide to Restaurant Success. Pick up your copy today at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, or wherever fine books are sold.
That was our commercial. Still
I
no
love
Joe.
that.
Still no Malta Joe. Still no Malta Joe.
I'm working on getting him the link. We're going to do the link one more time for him, because he is known throughout North America as Mr. Pastizzi. He's the one who does the Maltese style. And while we're waiting for him, Danielle, what is the Moroccan style pastizzi?
There's a few different pastries, like Moroccan pastries. Some of them are savory, some of them are sweet, and they're just not so commonly known. It's not like Moroccan cigars or other very typical Moroccan foods like merguez or things like that I think were just homemakers types of foods that they would make with easy laminated doughs. So they would make laminated doughs and either stuff them with sweet fillings, which was usually like a sweet almond paste filling, maybe with orange blossom water, something like that. So savory, and stuff it with meat, and also in the shape of almost like a horned shell type of thing.
Kind of like the ones we saw in the picture.
Yeah, but they were like a little bit more elongated, but really delicious.
So more. Okay, I get what you're saying. Let's talk. While we're waiting, when you think of a place to go? Because one of the things, your tagline on your website is "We'll travel for food." I love that concept. How important is the discovery of new food from new places to you, and how important is that to keep people thinking about in this time when we really can't travel, let alone for any reason, let alone for good food, which is the best reason?
It's actually very, very important to me. I saw, like, my website is a little bit outdated. I actually, thank God, have 7 children. And the main way that I really got to expose my children to food was really through other food cultures. I created this concept predating the blog. Just in my own house, my mother brought us this really amazing globe from Costco that, like, you take a pen and you touch it to a place and it tells you all these amazing facts about each location.
Neat.
What?
Neat.
Yeah, geography, topography, currency, the political structure there. Just really, really great, awesome toy. And my kids were obsessed with it. And I was like, but there's nothing about food on here. So I created this concept. We called it in our house Kitchen Destinations. And we would literally travel to different destinations through our kitchen. So for 3 to 4 nights, every night at dinner, we would pick, let's say, like, 1 week we did Brazil. So the first night we would talk about Brazil and the language, and I would get my kids to say all of these amazing Portuguese words, and even just saying, Brazil, how they say it in Portuguese, and teaching them facts about the Amazon and the Amazon River, and the Brazil infrastructure and the policies there, and what their parliament looks like and things like that, and a little bit about their history. And every night we would learn about it until the last night, where we would make this Brazilian feast. And the kids were so invested in Brazil that they were willing to taste foods that I couldn't get them to taste no matter what I did. And it was really the best way for me to expose them to other food cultures. And from there, I realized that, food is really breaking bread together. It's really such a neutralizer, because we can be from opposite places in the world, but we both need to eat, and we both want to eat something delicious. And based on who you are and who I am, there might be a different opinion of what delicious is, but we can come together and we can sort of learn to accept each other and communicate with each other through our food. And I think that's just so important.
Well, as if right on time and right on cue, the amazing Malta Joe is here with us. We're talking with author Danielle Renov, who is the author of the brand new book, Pease, Love, and Carrots, and is a global food lover, food mother, and journalist whose tagline, "Will travel for food," is brought to life. But Danielle, I have to say, I love that you do. There's your book. Show that again. And there's the Pastizzi.
There you go.
There we go. They are irresistible. I will tell you that. I've got to say, though, I love that you did the dinners with your kids and the culture for 3 nights, because you really can't just do one night and have it come to life.
Right.
So, Danielle, I want to introduce you to my friend Malta Joe. He's Joe from everybody in the world that has this idea that certain places give us certain gifts of food. Joe has brought this to life in North America. I've asked him this many times, and we have not been able to find anybody else that does what he's doing, which is bringing Maltese Pastizzi to life. Joe, I'd like to introduce you to my friend, the cookbook author and blogger, Danielle Renov.
Hello, Danielle.
Joe, how are you?
Good, very good, thank you. Very hot here in Tucson, Arizona.
Wow.
I think it's 102.
Oh my.
And then that's pretty good for around here. It gets up to 110 this time of year, pretty much often.
I'm actually much closer to your part of the world. I'm here in Israel, also a desert and very hot.
Yeah, you're in the same longitude line.
Yep.
Joe, Danielle was telling us about her own family tradition. Her mother's Moroccan and makes a Moroccan version of your pastizzi, and was telling us what the difference was. Let's tell everybody, and I wanted to make sure you met, because the idea of this show is that these are all our friends in the business, and my friend is your friend, and now your friends are my friends. let's talk a little bit about Maltese versions of this same treat, the Pastizzi, and how important it is to recognize that it's both sweet and savory. It has this very complex history. Talk a little bit about what it is that you make and how important it was for you to bring it to life.
Yes, and this is actually the Maltese Pastizzi. When you have two Z's together in the Maltese language, it makes the S sound. So that makes it easier for people to actually look at it, because every American, once they see the word, they all immediately say Pastizzi. So I give them a little adjustment, and they get it right away. I think every culture has a hand pie food in their culinary repertoire. This was one Christmas about 6 years ago. I was making Christmas cookies out of my mother's cookbook for my family who was visiting, and I had finished, and I had a lot of leftover flour and nuts and everything else, and I turned the page of my mother's recipe book, and there was her recipe for Pastizzi. So I ended up, so that was around Christmas time. And I spent till about April on her recipe, perfecting it, because I haven't worked with her in a long time. We used to make it all the time growing up. She used to make it and put it on the table to shut us up so she could do her housework for my father before he came home. I was lucky enough to have a stay-at-home mom while my father worked up in New York. And we would be able to eat all day long and not bother her and say, "Mom, I'm hungry. Mom, I'm hungry." But working with my mother and making these Pastizzi, it was very easy to make 12 of them. That was no problem. But if you wanted to go into a business commercial venture, I had to learn how to make 300 of them at least a day. So I took a nice trip over to Malta. I've been there many times. Most of my family is still there. And I was able to find a Maltese pastizzeria chef who was willing to be very generous and let me into his kitchen and show me how to make mass amounts of pastizzi for commercial use. Now you can understand, here in America, I'm the only one making pastizzi for commercial use. On Malta, it's on every street corner. Every bakery makes one. There are not pizzerias. There are pastizzerias. And they make pizza, but Pastizzi is the main product, and they'll have pizza there on the side, if you wanted that. But this chef did not want me to learn from him, and then all of a sudden open up another shop, adding to the confusion and in Malta there. So he wanted me to show him my airplane ticket back home to the States before he let me into the front door. And it's very true. I brought my plane ticket with me, and I showed it to him, and he opened the door, and we spent the next 2 days making Pastizzi. And at that time, he was making 800 a day just by himself.
Oh my gosh.
It was amazing to see, amazing to learn. I brought that technique here to America. I'm up to 300 now a day, so I'm getting up there. Practice makes perfect was his byline almost every 5 minutes. "Joe, pay attention. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect." So he showed me how to make the handmade phyllo dough, and then he showed me how to make a few fillings. And right then and there, I've been working with his technique for about 3 years now. And a year ago,
I just wanted to make sure you met Danielle, who's also a native New Yorker. So you have very many things in common. And through each of you, we are going to an exotic location today. I know it's the middle of the night for her, so we're going to say thank you so much for visiting with us. She was on her way to Malta when the COVID hit. So this is the other serendipity of this particular shows. And these are the kinds of things that happen. We couldn't have designed this to be this coincidentally beautiful. So
you designed it.
Hopefully you'll get there someday, Danielle. I was supposed to go in September myself. I canceled my plans, but it'll still be there. It's been there for millennia.
Going because they didn't refund our tickets. They just, held them. So we're definitely going one day.
Okay, they're keeping them safe for you.
Thank you, Danielle.
come back and visit us soon.
Thank you so much.
All right, we got rid of Danielle. Now let's talk about Malta Joe. Why don't you introduce me like you introduced Danielle? That's bizarre.
Malta Joe. Well, you went missing, and I wanted to make sure you were done in the bathroom by the time I introduced you.
I didn't go. I didn't even have to go to the bathroom. How do you think's running this board?
Yeah, this is Michael Politz. He's the publisher of Food and Beverage Magazine and the author of the brand new Food and Beverage Magazine Guide to Restaurant Success.
Ah, there you go. Hi, Michael.
I like this picture. You look great right there like that.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Joe. Joe, I've heard a lot of great stuff about you. I've seen these delicious pictures. Are you able to ship them out to people? Or do you just have them in Tucson right now? How does that work?
No, absolutely. I started out as a shipping business. I am, and it's very, very busy right now. I ship all over the country.
Do you do a par baked? How do you do it? Are they frozen?
No, I freeze them raw right from making them and package them by the dozen. Put them 4 dozen per package. Put some dry ice in there. And send them on to FedEx, and FedEx 2-day priority gets them guaranteed to these people all over America.
And how much does that cost somebody?
Well, about the cost of the product. So if 4 dozen comes to about $90. If you're lucky enough to live in Texas, Nevada, California, you're paying about $60, $65, $70 to get there. But a lot of my customers come from New York,
right,
Florida.
Well, but you're getting 4 dozen for $90. That's not a bad deal. That's fine.
No, that's fantastic. It's the shipping that gets them. And sometimes people don't have that room in their freezer for 4 dozen. Well, people have small freezers.
So what do you do then?
They don't buy them. I have a box that holds 10, so they can order from 4 to 10 dozen. And with FedEx, the more you order, the cheaper the shipping is. It's incredible.
Well, that's what Jennifer, when we pay Jennifer, the more she speaks, the less we pay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know.
A beautiful voice. Come on.
I know.
Michael, what's cool, though, and the reason I wanted you to imagine that we went on some really exotic summer trips, and then we took you to Malta, and we took you to Israel, and we took you to Morocco. And we took you to somewhere where you would come home and say,
James Beard moment. You're going to bore everybody. Go ahead. Schmancy fans. Go ahead.
Malta Joe is the only commercial producer of Pastizzi in the United States.
I'm the only one that's doing it commercially. That is
evidently
correct.
Jennifer's a big fan.
All right. And my fan base is growing every day.
Jennifer, give us one word about his pastissis. Come on, give us the word, Jen.
They're irresistible.
What? They're irresistible? That's insatiable. We don't even have irresistible. You picked the wrong word, Jennifer. We don't have irresistible. I gotta go find it.
That's okay. What I'll tell you, though, the crunchiness of the exterior when they're warm, when the fillings, and you're going to say, oh, well, it looks like a pastry. Was it sweet? No. I want you to imagine these wonderful, oh, Joe, you've got some. Show them what it sounds like, because they're crunchy. They're incredibly crunchy. And they've got this fantastic filling, and they have very savory quality to them. So you can get them, and that's got like it's not a ricotta cheese, but what kind of cheese is it?
Yes,
it's like a ricotta.
Ricotta and Parmesan mix. This one is our Southwest, which has bacon, hatch chilies, and the regatta cheese.
But you do one with curry that is a knockout.
Yes, the split pea and curry pastizzi. Yes. We even offer that as a vegan option also.
It is a knockout. It is so good. And take a bite so we can hear the crunch, because people are going to not really understand. This is incredible.
Okay, here we go.
Right?
Mmm.
Irresistible.
The layers are phyllo dough.
Right.
It's worth every fold.
Right. Everything about that crunch is authentic and true.
I'm making it the exact traditional technique that the Maltese have been doing for generations.
So, Joe, is there love in every fold?
Not only is there love in every fold, I name each one of these as I make them throughout the day. I name them.
Who did you just eat? Jimmy? Jax? What's the one you just ate? What's his name?
No, this one was a robin.
Oh, geez, Robin.
Robin.
Little Robin's nest. A little Philo Robbins nest. Well, this is fantastic.
This one was a Diana.
Oh, dirty Diana. See, I would have to.
Well, there was a Patricia earlier. Cousin Rose. I just go through, sitting there making a 300 a day. You get methodical and you're just going through these motions, have some nice music in the background, working with dough. Doesn't make me any happier than that.
That's beautiful. That's what it's about, Jen.
In traditional Maltese culture, do you eat them at breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Is it a snack? Is it a meal? Do you have two of them with a salad? I mean, how do people actually eat them?
All of the above. It's true. One could have them for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, have it for a snack in between meals. I always suggest my customers eat it with their salads. This way they could, when they're eating and all the layers and the crispy and crunchies fall down, it makes croutons.
Brilliant.
And now it's all over the salad.
Nice.
One of the traditions on Malta is when people finish their pastizzi, they're eating the crumbs, with their fingers like this. I watch the Americans do it and take pictures of them and send them to Malta with no caption because they know what's happening.
When someone's pinching and scooping it up.
The last bits of the crust.
Joe, because we can't travel this summer, give us a sense about the essence of Malta and how this particular product that you make that is unique in North America can give you a true little taste of Malta.
Without exaggeration, when I bite into every one, I have to taste test every one of my batches. And when they come right out of the oven and I bite one, it brings me back to 5 and 7 years old when I was on Malta as a little kid. And we're all going to the pastizzeria. We're all getting a dozen and eating. And knowing quite well after I eat 5 of them, I'm going to have a bellyache, but I do it anyway. This traditional snack, the Maltese pastizzi, does that to all my customers who are Maltese. Most of my customers are. They order them. A week later, they get them. A week later from that, they're leaving me messages on my phone, sending me emails, putting Google reviews saying, this is amazing that I could have this here and feel as I feel right in Malta. Is almost as good as my grandmother's. And every one of them say almost because they must keep the respect of the nanu and the nana. They don't want to upset anyone in the family. So, and I appreciate that because even getting a 9 out of 10, because grandma's is always 10, I'm amazed and I'm very happy and I appreciate my customer base so much. They're very, very supportive. On Malta Joe's Baked Goods on Facebook, they're always leaving little tidbits. Oh, I wish I had some Malta Joe Pastizzi. And then another customer say, I'll have some, I'll send you some. They're all having a good time finding it in America.
I love it. So Jennifer, not to be confused with the Maltese puppy or the Maltese falcon, this is Malta Joe. And you can find this product at maltajoe.com, right? So Joe, let us know how this goes. Stay in touch with Jennifer.
Can I ask one last question? Because I want to know, where in the U.S. are there pockets of populations of people from Malta or Maltese people?
Well, a large client base seemed to be coming from San Diego through San Francisco, so California, Florida, New York, of course. But I'm very surprised to see so many Maltese in Texas. Texas is becoming a little wildfire of business. One person has it, then they tell their neighbors, and they tell their neighbors, and they have to have them. Illinois, and my first shipment to Indiana was last week.
All right.
Well, Joe, we want to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing the Pastizzi story with us and for letting everybody know. Come visit us again.
How do you say goodbye in Maltese?
Arrivederci, because the Maltese language is salt and peppered with French, Spanish, Italian. They'll say ciao. Ciao.
Oh, beautiful. Ciao, Bella.
Wow.
Thanks, Joe. What a good guy, huh? How
You love that crunch.
How do you find these good guys to be on the show? What do you do? Are these your boyfriends? What's going on? It's confusing. How do you do that?
I love how we went to Morocco and Paris and Israel.
What a day.
And Malta today, all in a day.
Right. I love it. You're the best. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow should be fun.
We're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow. Hug your kids. Count your blessings.